been a good 3-4 months since I started running, and I hope that in sharing my experience and the things I've read and my thought process in forming this new healthy habit, I hope it can help someone out there who wants to start running more as well. But first, why did I start running? There's this saying that you're like the 5 people who are closest to you, and I stay in a dorm, so in my residential college it's really nice because you get to see a lot of friends and a lot of them do run. We even have a group chat where we openly ask people who want to go for a run that night or that evening. So when you are surrounded by people who are also really active, that just really helps with the whole running habit. So I think what I'm trying to say is company really matters. I think being surrounded by people like this really motivated me to want to start running. So the next thing, how did I start running? I think the hardest part was just to get out the door. I found that not thinking and just doing really helps. Like the more I rationalized why I had to run, or the more I thought, I just found that more excuses came up, like I'm tired, or I was sore, or I had a lot of work to do. I think that thought came up a lot, but I found that if I just quickly put on my shoes to get out the door for that run, most of the time it really worked out. I think starting this habit of running also helped me be a lot kinder to myself. But over these few months, I found that I just told myself to show up for that run, and I realized that when I stopped pressuring myself, the run became a lot more enjoyable and keeping the habit was a lot easier as well. And I found that most of my really good runs, like my 10km runs, were usually done on a whim. Like I didn't really plan to run a 10km that day, I just felt good and I felt like I could continue that run, which is why I pushed for the 10km. So I think it was really important for me to understand that anything can happen during a run, and I'm not going to beat myself up if it goes south. If I suddenly start cramping or my stomach starts aching, then I'm gonna have to slow down, right? And if I feel good during the run, of course I'm gonna be able to push myself as well. So I think the main thing is I just celebrate the fact that I showed up for the run. Another thing that really helped me start running and continue running is using a running app. So I know there's Nike Run and Runkeeper, but I personally use Strava. There's just something about socials like this that make you really motivated to run whenever you see your friends running as well. I think it's really important to be careful to not get too pressured into running just because you see other people running like 4 minutes per km or running 10 kms like every other day. I think the main thing is to compare where you are now to where you were the day before. It's a lot about self-improvement and looking at yourself and celebrating the little victories. There are good runs and there are not so good runs. So having a bad run doesn't make you a bad runner. It doesn't mean your skills have deteriorated, because there are so many factors involved in running. So I think we all have good days and bad days. So I talked about how I started running. So I think the next part is going to be exciting to talk about. How did I continue to run? Well, setting goals can be really helpful. I think what was a lot more lasting for me is setting systems, and what better book to talk about setting systems and habits and forming new habits than Atomic Habits. This was an excellent read and I can't believe it took me so long to get to it. I just recently finished it and it's been so helpful. And I feel like we know a lot of these concepts already, but I feel like Atomic Habits and James Clear was able to put it really nicely into words in this book. So here are my 3 takeaways from the book. 1, get 1% better each day. So the principle behind this is the compound effect. When you get 1% better each day, and it's all about self-improvement from the day before, you may not see the progress from day to day, but if you look back, you're going to be really impressed at how much you improved. Contextualizing it to running, I think for me, when I first started, my average pace or my comfortable pace was probably 7 minutes per km, and I would run 3.6 and that was it for me. But now on average I run about 4 to 5 km, and that is considered pretty comfortable for me, and I can run a 6:30 pace pretty comfortably on most days. That definitely took a while to build up. It took consistency, it took showing up for the run. Over time, I guess the improvement really shows. The second takeaway is to change your identity to change your habits. And I think there are a lot of theories that go into this concept. So the idea behind creating or self-actualizing an identity is to create a lasting change from the inside out. And I think this really involves a lot of positive self-talk. I found that over the months I realized my negative self-talking is honestly really bad for me. So I think that's another reason why I really latched on, or I really enjoyed this new hobby of running, because it was a chance for me to speak really kind words to myself, to be really positive. So I would practice a lot of self-talk whenever I thought about running, or whenever I was on a run. I would tell myself things that had to do with my identity. So things like, I'm a fit person, I'm motivated, I'm that girl. And all this really helped in shaping my identity, and just positive self-talk in general is always really helpful. My last takeaway is the habit loop. So all our habits have a cue, craving, response, and reward. So contextualizing it once again to running, cue would be to make running obvious. So for me, I like to put my running shoes right by my door, not outside my door, but where I can see it. So I am motivated to go for a run, or I'm reminded to go for a run whenever I do see my shoes. Craving is to make the habit attractive. So another thing that I've been really enjoying recently is reading, and I use the Libby library app, and I would listen to audiobooks during my run, and that just adds another layer or sense of achievement whenever I do run, because I feel like I am running, keeping fit, and I'm using my brain as well and gaining new knowledge on my run. So that's what really makes the run very attractive to me. And for response, it's to make it easy. So it's about focusing on the little steps that can make running seem easier than it actually is. Because when you think about running, I guess a lot of people think about, oh, I have to be sweaty and I have to trudge and really push myself to run that route, and it just seems like a really arduous and tedious task. But if you focus on the little things that can get you to accomplish the bigger things, things like tying your shoelaces or putting on your shoes, I think that's really helped me as well. For me, my little steps are to put on my shoes and to open the Strava app. I think these two really activate my brain into the running mode, and it just makes the run a lot more fun to ease into. And the last thing is reward. So for me personally, I find that the run in itself is a reward because of the endorphins that kind of get released in your brain. I think it's a feeling of accomplishment that I really enjoy, that I keep going back to whenever I do run. I think they call it the runner's high, and I find that I feel a lot less anxious after my runs, which is really helpful for me because I've been so busy and anxious the past few months, and running definitely helps. But of course, if you want that extra incentive, you can always reward yourself with an ice cream or a nice drink, or maybe a video game or a movie or a show after your run. Do whatever works for you and whatever makes you excited to go for the run. And finally, what happened? So I mean, I could talk about the physical changes, right? Like, I'm starting to see my 11 abs a bit. It's not fully there yet, but it's peeking through, and I'm really excited about that because I never really noticed that before. I probably lost weight. I don't know if it's very obvious, but I think I can tell. But yes, I could talk about my weight and all of that. But I think what's more important is the mindset and the internal changes that have happened. So I found that when I started running, I do care a lot more about other aspects of my life as well, because I was running and I was seeing results from my runs, and I feel like I'm a lot fitter now, and that naturally urged me to make healthier choices in my life as well when it came to food and spending and a lot of different things. I just started to eat more intuitively and drink more water as well, which are really important habits. So in a nutshell, I think that is what has happened since I started running, and trust me, I'm gonna continue. Today's my running day, in fact. And I guess the main thing when it comes to starting a running habit or any habit is to surround yourself with good company, people that really support you, people that cheer you on, people that don't put you down for wanting to be a better version of yourself. I found that that was super integral from starting the habit to actually continuing the habit. I think it's really important. Like I mentioned, I think I just wanted to make more sit-down chatty videos. As for the podcast, I think I'm slowly easing into it, starting with videos like this where I talk to the camera a bit and I also talk about books I've read. I'm trying to get a friend to join me in one of my podcasts, and we are going to be filming that really soon. I'm so sorry for the delay, and I hope the new camera is pretty cool. I find that it's super HD, so I'm seeing a lot of my pores and flaws up close and in HD, and it scares me a bit, but I think it is definitely an upgrade, and I'm really glad that I got this camera. I pray that you stay safe, happy, and healthy wherever you are. Bye!